One question that I get quite often from a lot of different people once they find out that I learn languages and can speak a few different languages or whatever, at least words and phrases, they ask me about Rosetta Stone. Everybody knows Rosetta Stone, and I think that's because Rosetta Stone is they're a great advertiser. They're always on TV and that type of stuff, so everybody knows about them. And they always ask me, is Rosetta Stone, is it good? Should I use Rosetta Stone? Do you recommend Rosetta Stone? I get questions like that all the time, like 24/7. And I've used Rosetta Stone a bunch of different times for many different languages. Actually, once I felt really good with my German, once I felt that I was like confident with it, I guess, comfortable with it, fluent, I was like, what if I learned another language? That would be pretty awesome. Then I could be like, yeah, I'm trilingual. I know English, German, and da 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 da. Aren't I cool? I mean, that was really all it was at first. So what I did is I got a bunch of different Rosetta Stones, and because I really had no idea what language. I was just like, it'd be pretty cool if I knew another one. So I got a bunch of different Rosetta Stones, and I tried out a bunch of different languages to see if there was any that I really liked. And I did that for a good long time. I spent like almost a whole entire summer doing that. And I learned, I guess you could say, words and phrases of various different languages. Right now, I know English. I'm pretty good in German, and I'm studying Chinese and Swahili. But I know words and phrases in like 10 plus other languages because I did this for one summer. And after doing this, I chose Chinese. And why I chose Chinese is because, after going and looking around through different European languages, I know because English is my native language, and because I already knew German, learning another European language I thought would be easy. It wouldn't be as challenging, and it wouldn't broaden my sense of what language is. So I chose Chinese because Chinese seemed like the most foreign thing to me, like the most challenging, the most hardest language out of all of them. That's really the reason I chose it. And also I love Chinese culture. Bruce Lee has always been one of my idols, and I love Chinese food and all that type of stuff. And I've always had Chinese friends and all that type of stuff. So I thought, it would be pretty cool if I learned Chinese. So that's basically kind of what got me started learning Chinese. Was Rosetta Stone. But I think Rosetta Stone is not a good tool for learning languages. It really isn't, especially for how much it costs. To get like the Rosetta Stone, like 3 packages or whatever, because you have 3 levels, I think it is. Like the first level teaches you the basics, the second level teaches you some more basics and kind of intermediate stuff, and the third level is, I think, mostly intermediate stuff. And to buy all 3 levels, I think, at once is the cheapest, and I think that's $500. And to me, the price tag is the biggest thing that gets me with Rosetta Stone. Is not only do I not really agree with how it tries to teach you a language, but it's so expensive. It's ridiculous. But the main things I don't like about Rosetta Stone, I don't know, if you've never used Rosetta Stone, I'll explain how it works, generally. What it tries to do is immerse you in the language, which is kind of, I think, doesn't even make sense because you're on a computer. You can't really immerse yourself that well like you could in real life. But so the whole time you don't get any explanations in English. You get no English at all, no translations, nothing. It's just the language, and it's designed in a way that you should be able to understand. And what it does is it usually starts out, I think, with man, woman, girl, and boy. And it'll have 4 boxes. You have a box like about here, a box about here, a box about here, and a box here. And in each box there is one of them is a man, one of them's a woman, one's a boy, one's a girl. And what it'll do is it'll say boy in that language, and you have to click on the right box. You know, click on the box that has the boy in it. And that's how it'll like teach you words. And then it'll add on to that, and it'll say like boy runs. And then it'll have a picture of a boy running, a girl running, a man eating, or a woman drinking or something, and you're supposed to pick which one is boy and which one is the running boy. So that's like kind of how it goes about teaching you. But also it forces you to speak and repeat stuff. It forces you to type at certain times, and you really have no choice in what you learn. It's just feeding you information, and you basically have to suffer through whatever boring thing it gives you. And I must say, a lot of the stuff on there is quite boring. And a lot of the things it teaches you, I think it's really focused on structure first, and then vocabulary second. And, you know, I would rather have it where it teaches me words and phrases that would be really beneficial to know right away when you're first beginning to learn. You know, Lao Shu has his FLR method, and he has, you know, where you learn certain things first, because by doing so you can better understand new things when they come at you, and understand real good questions, and that way you can start speaking it right away with other people. And Rosetta Stone completely does not have that. It's all based on structure. You're supposed to understand the grammar first and then learn words later. And I personally have a big problem. I mean, I would rather learn important stuff to say right away. That way I can speak with people right away. I like doing that. I think the human interaction with learning a language is probably the most important thing. Because whenever my family from Germany comes, I probably learn more in that 1 week of speaking German with them than I could the whole year studying in books. I mean, you remember things way better when it happens in real life, and you can go and ask, hey, what's that in German? What's that in German? And I'll write them down. And, you know, I learned so much that way. Or I could ask, you know, did I say that right? Does that sound right? Is there a better way of saying what I just said? And I think that's really key. And with Rosetta Stone, you can't ask those questions. And, you know, it'll force you to speak, and if you don't say precisely what it wants you to say in a certain exact way, it does not count. I think it's like you have it set up into chapters or certain stuff, and at the end of it you have like a big quiz to cover everything you learned in that chapter. And basically what it is it's like pictures of people like coming up and like talking to you, and it says stuff and you have to answer them. But if you don't answer them in a specific certain structure or specific certain word, even though what you're saying could make perfect sense to a native speaker, if you don't say it in the perfect way, it says you're wrong. And I have a big problem with that. It doesn't teach you like different ways to say the same thing. It doesn't really teach you very much idiomatic language or any like slang, any colloquial stuff. It's very textbooky, and you know, it really like force feeds you the language rather than you being able to learn what you want, to read stuff that is particular interest to yourself, and that type of thing. So, I mean, that's probably my biggest issue with Rosetta Stone, besides the price tag. The price tag is what really kills me. I mean, it's just insanely overpriced in my opinion. I mean, you spend $500 for those 3 levels or whatever. It's insane. $500? There's people in the world who, I mean, they make less than $100 a year. So my whole big point of this video is don't get Rosetta Stone. Don't even really bother with Rosetta Stone unless you can get it for free from like your local library. A lot of libraries check them out. You can get them at libraries. And don't use it alone. Use it with something else. Otherwise, don't even bother. With $500 though, there's plenty of better things you could get if you want to learn a language. Better investments you can make. So I'm going to show you some of my books, tell you about how much they cost, and you know what they can teach you, and why, you know, it's better to spend money on like books and stuff than waste your time with Rosetta Stone. Now, I think the thing everyone should start with is like language manuals. Now here's a Teach Yourself Swahili, Teach Yourself Turkish, Teach Yourself Hungarian. Here's Colloquial Mandarin Chinese, Colloquial Arabic, Gulf Arabic. I mean, teach yourself books, like these ones, they're usually $20 to $25 brand new, and you can even get them used for cheaper. And I mean, these things teach you a buttload of stuff. I mean, look at how thick that book is. And I mean, they got like a dictionary in the back usually, and I mean, they teach you some intense stuff, and by the time you get to the end of the book, I mean, you know quite a bit. I would say this book could get you from knowing nothing to upper beginners, intermediate level, just this book alone. I mean, here's some of you have dialogues in it, and one of the dialogue at the end is, I mean, it's almost like 2 pages, and I'll show you some of the vocabulary. It has solicitor, lawyer, of half Hungarian origin, unless you have a strong stomach. To be honest, I had no other choice. Atmosphere. In my student days, gift for languages. Until it's a fact that decide, talk about when one is not so young, literally with an old head. The more one hears it, the more one grows to like it. Come what may, whipped cream, folk music, I am over the worst now. I mean, by the time you get to the end, I mean, you're learning some pretty intermediate stuff, kinda. You know, you're getting pretty far away from the beginner's level with the Teach Yourself books. Most of them, anyways. I've seen some that weren't as quite as good. And then also the colloquial books. They get you to pretty much the same level too, usually. And I mean, they have a good dictionary in the back too, and they got lots of lessons, lots of exercises, and I mean, you learn quite a bit too. Like, let's look at some vocabulary here. That's only about halfway through the book. And you have gun, which means to follow. 坐 means to sit down. 啤酒 beer. 一样 to be the same, same. 橙子汁 orange juice. 菜单 menu. 点菜 to order. 我来点 let me do the ordering. You know, so it has lots of stuff from restaurants to like everyday stuff, like the stuff you need to know if you're actually living in that country. That's what I like about these books. It teaches you real good information, where Rosetta Stone seems to be more geared towards tourists, people on business travel, not someone who actually really wants to learn the language to like constantly be around it, I guess you could say. But yeah, I think these books, I mean, colloquial books, I mean, I've seen them ranging from $20 to $50. But I mean, you learn more out of this one book than you could with Rosetta Stone, and you're spending 1/10 of the price. And here's colloquial Arabic, which is even thicker than the Chinese one. And you know, the Teach Yourself and the colloquial too, they come with audio. So it's not like you're just studying out of a book. You can sit there and listen to conversations and stuff. And that's the best way to learn, I think, is through listening and reading. You know, because listening will increase your pronunciation, increase your understanding, your comprehension of the spoken word and everything. I think listening is extremely important. And I think if you listen to something over and over and over, it definitely helps you memorize the vocabulary and the words and the structures, the grammar, you know, all that type of stuff. Where Rosetta Stone is really, it's kind of difficult because you can't just go and listen to a whole conversation. You can only listen to like a select sentence or a select word. And you know, there's so many more books that you can get with that kind of money. So I think you should definitely spend money on these types of books rather than Rosetta Stone.